All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 11 o'clock session. My name is Catherine Greiner. I'm a professor at Carroll College that normally, is involved obviously in hosting the Mountain Moot and doing it remotely this year. And my job is to be a Zoom room host and to introduce our speaker, and then I get out of the way. So I'm very excited today to introduce to you SarahAshley, and she will be presenting on 7 creative ways to use the database activity. So I know we have just a short time together, so without further ado, Sarah, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I appreciate the intro. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the session. Now that we are rolling, I think I will share my presentation. Okay. And maybe I'll do this. There we go. Out of the way. Okay. Great. Can we see the presentation confirmation? Awesome, thank you. So I am SarahAshley. I am with Moonami Learning Solutions as the e-learning project specialist. But I've been Moodling since 2007, 2006 from Moodle version 1.7 up until the latest version of Moodle. And the database activity has been my little pet project. I've been digging into it, learning so much about it, and used it in so many ways. I know that it sounds a little scary sometimes. You hear database and you're like, ooh, is it some back-end tech thing? But really, it's just a collection of similar data. And I want to show you 7 different ways that I've used it across my Moodle experience over the years. I hope that you find it inspirational. And in the course for this session, I have put up lots of goodies. You can go and try them all out, add entries in there and see how it works. And then there are presets you can download and install, upload into your own Moodle to customize and try them out there as well. So I hope you explore. And then there are Q&A forums for each example. If you want to ask questions or post something about that, you can do so in the course. So make sure you go and explore. All right. So I think that the database activity is so versatile and pliable. You can do so many different things with it. I look at it as moldable clay, like Play-Doh. My son, I started teaching him how to do numbers up there, 390, and I showed him how to do numbers and he decided to do his 3 times table. So that's great. Learning experiences, simple things like that. And then he takes it to a whole new level and does something like a Sonic in Play-Doh, all right? Or he does Legos. We started with ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and he now does Olympic rings and makes 3D Sonics. The database activity, you can go simple, very, very basic, just a few form elements to collect data. And you can also go a little more advanced and do things like JavaScript, where you can calculate numbers and add up hours and add up things and make it dynamic. You can add a print button to print your entries and go very complex. So it is a very, very versatile tool. Before you think about going to install a plugin, I would recommend, let's see if you can do it with the database first. So it is a multi-purpose tool. It is right out of Moodle Core. It's not an extra plugin that you have to install. It's if you have Moodle, you have the database activity and you can go try it out in your course. It can be used in an academic setting, in schools. It can be used for business, corporate purposes. It can be used in team work where you put students or learners together in a group and they work on entries together. Or it can be an individual one-on-one based private activity. Okay, it's portable. After you've collected or you've created your database plus entries and all, you can download everything and save it as a template on your Moodle site so that other people can use it in their courses, or you can give that zip file to somebody at a different Moodle school. You can upload it at a different Moodle site. Even if you have another Moodle site, you can take it there. So it's portable. shareable. And once you bring it into your new space and you have a copy of whatever you got, you can then adapt it. So you can use it just as you got it with all the same fields and columns and titles and names and everything. Or you can change those. So you can say, well, I don't need a business hours field. What I need is a community hour field. So you change the title to community hours. You can change the colors. You can add images. You can add banners. You can adapt it to whatever it is that you need. And it still works beautifully. So what are some of the examples? So one of the first ones I want to share with you is this course project website. A professor who was teaching a biology course had assigned each student an organism to research and to share their findings on a web page. Back in the day, they were using Microsoft Front Page. Anybody has a memory of that? Back in the day when we had like, Macromedia Dreamweaver, when it used to belong to Macromedia, and Fireworks and all of that. So it became more of a learn how to build a website course rather than learn biology and organisms course. And so it took away from their time to actually put in quality work on the project, and they're, calling support because Front Page isn't doing it's supposed to do and all that. But once we use the database activity, everything was standardized, and all they had to do was just click a button, fill in the form, submit, and they were done. They also had to do peer reviews of their each other's project pages, and then use that information to improve the data. And then they add their findings to a group page. So all the organisms that belong to that maybe their habitat is in the forest come together, and they put all of those organisms together into another database activity. So this is what it would look like if you're looking at the list of all the organisms. This is called the list view. When you're looking at all of it, you can customize this. We made this have the columns that we wanted: species name, student name, habitat, last modified. You can add anything else that you want over here, or take away, if all you need is the species name and the habitat, you could do that. So this is customizable. And then we have a little action column where we click on the magnifying glass to go to a specific entry. And this is also hyperlinked, the species name. So when you click on that, it takes you to a specific entry, and the entry page shows, all the details that you want them to see. All right. The student filled in all this information. They can even upload pictures, and all the pictures are the same size, as opposed to when you are doing something in HTML, someone's picture is 500 wide and someone else's is 1,000, and then it breaks the whole page. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare before, but this really made it standard and beautiful. We also have a button for downloading the entry to PDF so that the student can save this into their portfolio. So in the course for this session, when you go test this out, I would encourage you to try the print button or the download button and see how it works out for you on your computer. When they're editing or adding the entry, it is just common familiar form elements, right? So they have a drop-down menu for picking the habitat. They have a text box for putting in the information about the relatives of the organism, survival strategies. It's all just very familiar, right? They're not learning HTML and tags and P tags and A tags and nothing like that. Uploading an image is as easy as creating a browse button for them to pick it from their computer. You set the size of what it should be, how wide everyone's picture should be, and then automatically Moodle will adjust the size of the picture and make the height, match the width. Okay, so the student doesn't need to worry about all that. And the key here is you creating your own fields. All right, so I know people have used Google Forms before or SurveyMonkey, similar thing. You create your own form, right? You say, I want to collect the student's name, and you put in a text box. I want to give them a radio button to pick a choice here, same kind of thing. You create your fields, and these are all the different types of fields you can create with the database, and then you call them what you want, and then you arrange them on the form the way you want it to be. I want this to be in this corner. I want this to be in a right column. I want to create a table and put this here. So you decide how it should look using templates, and then the student just sees what you've put together for them and fills in the information. All right. So another example is what we call a post-first discussion board. And in academic circles, we call it like a blind post, where the student has to post a response before they see what everyone else has posted in the class. Okay, and so using the database activity, you can create a form where they fill in maybe their name, the subject of the post, and then a big box for them to put in their post. Maybe you want an attachment, so you can add a browse button for attaching something. But you can set a limit here that says the entry, if you're requiring one entry before they can see what everyone else has posted, or you can require 5 entries or 10 entries. There is a forum type in Moodle called the Q&A forum that does something similar, but that is on a thread by thread basis. And the teacher has to, or the instructor has to create a question thread, and then the student replying to that thread has to post their reply before they see the other responses. You can't do it for the whole forum and say, I want them to answer 3 questions before they see what everyone else has posted in the entire forum. So this is what the database has a little bit of an advantage there, where you can specify X number of posts required prior to seeing what everyone else has posted. Encourages original thought so that they're not influenced by their peers. And then go change. Oh, I still wish I'd have thought of that, and then go and change it. They can't change their post until they're done with it. So that's another example. Another example, a private Dropbox. So instead of using an assignment activity, you can use the database to create a private Dropbox area. In this particular example, a medical school were having students doing their clinical rotations. Students had to post journals about their rotation, and there were certain documents that were specifically required for each rotation. It used to be an assignment activity link for every rotation. So you can see a long list of assignments here. There's not one place to see if one student has, submitted everything for each rotation. But the database cleaned that all up with just one link, and everything is in one place. What you do is you create student groups, you create separate groups, and the student is alone in that group with the teacher or the advisor. And they are the only people in there, because, medical things are HIPAA and all of that. So you want to keep it private. Students, no one else should see the data that's being submitted by someone else. So separate groups. And then when the student uploads their documents, only the teacher, can see it and give feedback using comments and everything. And it's a private submission system. When you take a look at the entries, you can see the entries by one student, and you can tell all the rotations are all in one place. You're seeing it in one screen. So that was very, very helpful for everybody managing this particular assignment. And they can see that, okay, for ambulatory rotation, they needed 4 documents to be submitted. This person has submitted only 3. They're missing 1. And it's easy to just reach out and say, hey, where's your so-and-so and so document for this? Okay. This is what it looks like for the student when they are entering their information. This is the single view of one entry. You have more details in here. You can see the professor's feedback. And down here, this is cut off a little bit, but down here it says add comment. So the professor can add a comment, and a conversation and a discussion can happen on this particular entry. And you can do that in any database. You can actually have comments on a particular entry and turn it into a discussion as well. In the top right corner here, you can see an RSS feed. So the professor can subscribe to the feed, and when their student who's assigned to them in their group has uploaded an entry, they get a notification. So that's an easy way to notify and know that, oh, one of my students has posted something, let me go check it out. Again, looking at when they're adding the entry, what does it look like for the students? Familiar forms, drop-down menus, browse buttons, and so nothing scary. Another exciting example is a community service log. And what's different about this is that it's dynamically computing or adding up the number of community hours that the student is entering. This is also a private submission. It can be visible groups or it can be separate groups. In this case, it's visible groups because the professor wants people to be able to see what others are doing, where they're serving, and if they want to do something similar. And so it kind of encourages more participation in community service. So they made it visible groups, but it can be separate as well. So the student is filling in a type of community service that they did. and how many hours. They're supposed to have a certain number of hours for category A, for category B, and for category C, so they can see if they're making up the hours or not. So this is a little JavaScript in the list view here that is adding up these hours being added. So go and try it out in the course. It's in there. And when they're selecting their entry, this is what it looks like. There's a drop-down menu of all the different service types that the school or the organization wanted the students to participate in. And so you pick from that, and then on you go. Another example is, I hope you're noting your questions. Another example is a content management workflow to create what was called a course resource repository. What is this? Well, once again, medical school, the students were going through the different body systems. So respiratory system, cardiovascular system, skeletal system, and all of that, digestive system. And it was one Moodle course. They decided to do one Moodle course, and each topic, is a particular system. And a particular professor or team of professors would be teaching each of these topics. So they had a lot of teachers in the course, and unfortunately not too many who were very, very, familiar with Moodle. So they'll come into the course to edit their section, and they'll be like, oh, who put this here? I don't need it, delete. Meanwhile, it was for the other professor who was going to be teaching the other session or whatever. And so it was a little bit chaotic. So instead of that, they decided, let's have one course manager who manages our documents. And so that person was in the course as the editing teacher, and everyone else was a non-editing teacher. Okay. So they created a database activity that would collect all the resources that are needed for each week and each session and each topic. And so you create your entry, upload your things, and then the content manager would review. If everything was okay, he would just approve it. But if anything needed to be edited, there would be multiple versions. Oh, this document isn't, current, or the link that you provided is a broken link. Please update the link, and things like that. So revision happens until it's approved. So the course manager approves it. There's a setting in the database activity that allows you to approve entries before they become visible to the rest of the world. Okay, so using this approve button allowed them to manage what was visible to students and when. Okay, so they published that, and then when the course was over at the end of the term or at the end of the year, they could actually archive that whole database of all those resources and then put it into another course or provide it as a read-only resource. So nobody is adding anything else, but it's a library of files, documents that students can use for review, for studies, and all of that. So that was the way that this was working. So let me show you again here with the list view. And as you can see, the different examples I've been showing have different colors, different fonts, different columns, right? And all of this is customizable. So you are the one determining what things should look like, and based on the theme of your course or your site, that can dictate what it looks like, but you can also within the templates, you can actually specify using CSS to say, I want all the headings to be blue or this, and you should have this font and that font and be bold here and not there. Okay, so you have full control over how this should look. So just as an example, you have a lecture period, and so they would put in the lecture period and who the instructor is, you would know. And then the documents that are required for that lecture would be available to the student. This little check mark button here that I've circled is the approval button. That's what you click to approve an entry, and then it becomes visible to students. So actually with what we're looking at here, everything is visible except this first top entry here, because the check mark is still there. It has not yet been approved. Once the manager clicks this check mark, it goes away and then it becomes visible to the students. Okay, so that's one way to control that. When you click on an entry from the list view, list view is kind of like big bird's eye view, just basic information, and then you can drill down into details. So you can see here on the details page, there's more. You can see details about the resource and instructions and other things. And again, you can have, if you want students to be able to comment and discuss a particular resource, you can enable comments, and then they'll be able to comment here. From this screen as well, the course manager can approve an entry, as you can see. Okay, so I can look at the details of this and say, yeah, this is a good resource to have. Okay, let's approve it. Okay. Next example, a course development status tracker. So now we've moved away from teaching and learning and coming into more administrative type usage. So the course development status tracker is used by an online learning team to track where each course is in a development process, so that we can see, okay, this course is 50% done. All right, this can be sent to the marketing team so that they can begin to do promotional materials for the course. Oh, it's the last course in this program, so this program is now ready to launch. So certain decisions can be made if you're following the status tracker. So what you're looking at here, every row is a course, and the professor or the instructor of the course adds the entry for the course that they are building right now. They go through training on how to build a course, and each training step has an entry in the form. And so they check off boxes to say, okay, I'm at this stage of this course during the training. And it's easy for us to monitor that. One thing that's also helpful is to see when it was added and when it was last modified, to see the difference between the two and say, okay, and today is July 15th. Okay, it's been a week since Professor so-and-so, touched this. Let's check in on him. Is he on vacation? Is anything the matter? Is there a problem? Is there, an obstacle that's preventing him from progressing? Let's help out, So it can help with communication as well. Clicking on the title of the course takes you to the single view. It is kind of like a little much, but this presentation, the presentation slides are in the course, so you can go and download it and have a closer look at this. But also you can go and add an entry into the example database that's there and see everything for yourself. Here you see a green box here, a green field. That is another computed field that, as the professor fills in the form for every step that they are at with their development, it adds up the total. So if today they check off boxes for the first 2 steps, it may be 20% done. If they come in and add another checkbox here and there, it comes to 25 and 30 and so on and so forth. When the course is fully completed all the way to the end, then it comes to 100. So we are tallying and computing that as well with JavaScript. This is what it looks like adding a course entry. You have drop-down menus, you have radio buttons, text boxes. This is a multi-select list, so they can select the certificate programs that a particular course belongs to. It may be more than one, so you can hold down Control and select multiple options in this list, And this is what they do. So they go, oh, okay, I'm in the pre-check stage of course development, and I have done this, 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 and this. They just click the boxes and off they go. There's a little show me link here that actually takes you to a playlist of YouTube videos, tutorials for that particular step of training. That's part of the training course. So that if they forgot, what's this about MCFs, I can click that and watch the tutorial to remind myself, oh yeah, that's what that is. Yep, I've done it, or no, I haven't, and then they come back and they update as they go along. So that's kind of nice. Final example that I'm going to show you is a support call log for a Moodle help desk. So this Moodle help desk was a phone-in help desk. So we didn't really have an email ticketing system of any sort. People call in their issues and problems. And so whoever's taking the call creates an entry in the database activity and then fills in the information. So date of the call, time of the call, who's a customer, phone number, ID, for the school. What is their role? We had faculty, staff. We were a university hospital, so sometimes university staff would call, maybe about a training program or something that they needed to do. And you fill in the information. Is it about Moodle? Is it about Angel? Is it Responders? Is it Adobe? Okay, so that was really helpful. And this is what a filled in log would look like after you're done. Maybe it needed to be escalated to somebody else to take care of the issue. This particular one was escalated to me. And so once I finished solving the problem, I come in and I put in the resolution. Again, these are fields that we decided we needed. We wanted to collect this information and also to provide a field for recording or documenting the resolution to the issue. So put that in there. Also, we had add a comment so that if there was any specific step that I took for resolving the issue that I want to make into a teaching moment for the staff, for the support staff, I could do that. Okay, so this is administrative. It is not front-end teacher student kind of thing, but among ourselves, it was a teaching tool to learn how to resolve a specific issue. So these are great examples, I'm sure you're saying, I hope you're saying. How do I create these? Well, a database activity is an activity in your Moodle course. So you're going to turn editing on. You're going to select add an activity or resource. You're going to find the database and then select that, put in the name that you want. And then of course you have all the settings that you have to put in. So put in something for the description. What are you doing here? And then all these examples are differ in the different setup options that you choose. Okay, this is where the magic happens. This is what the entry section look like if you want to control what students are adding or viewing based on entries. These are the different things you can do with entries. You can require an approval, which means that students aren't putting things out there that aren't kosher or allowed before it becomes visible. So you catch that and, you know, censor it before it gets public. You can do that. And if you want to allow editing of approved entries, that's possible. You can do that so that if something changes later on in the day, you know, websites move and links get broken. You may need to update a link or something. So you probably want to allow editing there. You can allow comments on entries. Remember, I said you can allow comments. And this is entries required before viewing. So if you want to do the blind post thing or you want them to complete a certain amount of work before they can see what anyone else is doing, this is where you do that. If you want to curb or limit the maximum number of entries, you can do that here as well. Or if you want to just let them keep posting ad nauseum, make it unlimited. All right. So it's all in the settings. You have open and closing dates for entries, so you can check that out. And if you want to use open close dates, you know, you can set that. You can set dates for when they should be able to view something. So there's a time for working and adding entries. Then you close contribution time and then make it viewing time only. And so you can open and close, you know, the viewing as well. Allow, encourage discussion to make it engaging. Allow approval. And you can even turn on ratings. So students can rate an entry. So if you want peer review, you can do that using ratings, and you can provide grades, or you can use, you know, 1-star, 2-star kind of feedback thing as well. Okay. After you have set all that up, you know, you have the usual Moodle, you know, settings for an activity, right? You fill all that in, then you hit save and display. You're not done yet with the database activity. Now you have to say, what information do you want to collect? Because remember, it is a form that they have to fill. So what are your form elements? This is where you're going to add them in. Okay, you add in your form elements. Okay, and then you decide what you want to do. So down here, you create a new field. This is where the fields are added. I think something flashed on my screen like questions, except how do I get the questions? Let me see, something in the chat. Do you have a good resource for the JavaScript code? I can provide that, although I did actually provide a little tutorial that I created on that explains the JavaScript, how to do it. So if you go to the course and you go to the entry, the one that has the community log, the community service log, there is a link to a YouTube tutorial that explores further with the JavaScript, and I explain how it works in this particular one so that you can, kind of modify it and take it to another level.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Cool. Yep. So after you have decided what you want to collect, okay, you've added your fields. Now you have to say, how should it look? By default, Moodle will just create a standard table for you, a simple table that has labels of what your fields are on the left, and then a placeholder for where the actual content will be added. And it looks like this. It has 2 square brackets around the name of the field. That's what is going to be. So if you don't do anything at all to it, this is what you get. You get a simple table, no color, no bold, nothing. It's just that. So now here you can say, well, I want lecture period to actually be the last thing they put in. So you're going to move this down and rearrange it. Maybe I want 4 columns or 3 columns, and I want to put this one over here. I want a long row over here where I can put a little banner image. You can just do whatever pleases you in terms of how it should look. As you could, I'm sure you saw the different examples, the ad screen all look different. Some have banners, some don't, and everything. So you have full license to customize and adapt this to how you want it to be. And it is HTML here, so you can go into the back end of the HTML editor, right? And then you can put in code for make this color this way, or you can use a CSS element attribute and say maybe give them an ID or a class, and then use CSS or the CSS template to do something more there if you want to go crazy. You can be like I said, as simple as you want and as complex as you want. It's all up to you. So there is a template for what it should look like when you're adding or editing an entry. There is a template for what it should look like when you're looking at one entry, a single entry. There is a template for when you're looking at the list, which is the first page that you see, the landing page that has the list of everything in it. What should that look like? And then there's also a template for when you're searching, because there's a search feature. You can search, do an advanced search. So what do you want on the advanced search feed? Sometimes you don't need every single field there. So you probably want to take a look at your search template and take away things that don't make sense to search for and customize that as well. Okay. Great. This is the list view template, and there is something about it. Usually, because sometimes you want to have full control over the HTML going on here, it is recommended to disable the editor when you are in list view so that you can see the code here and have full control. Sometimes if you don't and you try moving things around, weird things happen. Hopefully this will be improved in future versions of Moodle, maybe, hint, hint. But for now, if you are comfortable with it, disable the editor and then manage it this way. If not, no pressure, don't hurt your head. You can continue to edit it this way and fiddle with it and tweak it as needed. The header area is going to be the stagnant column row, okay? So that's the information that goes up here. And then the repeated entry is each row of data, okay? So you don't need to have multiple rows of information in here. Think about, I'm just doing one row here and this is what I want it to display. Then there's a footer area, a footer box at the bottom where you can have the footer area. So if you remember the one that's computing the JavaScript, the total field is in the footer area and it remains stagnant. It doesn't repeat all the time. Yeah, so that's your last row. What are these items on the left here? Well, these fields are what you put into your form. You don't need to type it in. You can if you want to, but I can say, okay, this is my lecture week column, and I put my cursor right here, and then I click on the field that's been provided in the left, and then Moodle inserts the correct code in there for me. Okay, so all you need to do is point and click where it should go, come and select what you want, and then it gets put in. Okay. There are some variables that are in here that are very helpful, like the user tag. This user tag will put in the name of the person putting in the entry. The person who added the entry, automatically their name is there and it links to their profile page. Okay, so there are certain things that are here that are pre-made actions, and you can put them in. There's a time added tag in here. You don't need to compute it, or you don't have to have the student enter it. If you just put in the time added pre-created elements, it does that for you. Okay, so explore. How do you archive? So your database is done, students have added entries in, you're done at the end of the term or the semester, and you want to now archive this. You can archive the entries. You can export to a CSV. So there's an export tab, and you go to the export tab, and then you select the format you want, CSV or open an Office document, and you can select what you want to export. Okay, if you have images and uploaded files, they will not come into the CSV, right? That can't happen. So if you want your exports to include, or your archive to include, images and uploaded files, then the best move would be to do a backup. So back up the course, okay, go through course administration menu, backup, and only select the database activity. You don't have to back up the whole entire course. You can back up only the database. Okay, so uncheck everything else and only select your database activity, include user data, and then that will include all the files that students uploaded as well. Okay, so that's one tip. So that's how you archive entries, but you can also export and share, right? Remember I said it's portable. So to package it for sharing, what you need to do is you say export as a zip, okay? You use the export as a zip section, click that button, and it gives you a zip file. So you download that, save it, and you can give it to somebody at another school who has Moodle. They can use it there, or you can use it at another Moodle site that you have access to. So that's how you port it over. And in that case, when you create your blank database and you come to the place where it's asking you to fill in fields, you don't need to do fields. Just go to presets, come to the import section, choose the file, and upload that zip file that you downloaded from here, or that you were given. And then it brings it in as the same thing, you know, with all the fields and all the columns and the look and feel, everything is already there. It's a beautiful thing. You can also save it as a preset. If you do save as preset instead of export as zip, saving as a preset means that you're saving it on your Moodle site and making it available to other professors, or let me say other courses across your Moodle site. So when you save it as a preset here, what happens is it gets added to the use a preset options when you're reusing or importing content on this site. Okay, so this is kind of in tandem here. The top part is export and import, zip file to zip file. And the bottom part is preset within the same site. And if you're going to use a preset on your site, you're going to come down here and pick the radio button for that particular preset that you want to use. That's already there. And then you click choose. And then bing, bang, boom, magic, you have the same database that someone else created. And now it's up to you to customize it, tweak it, and adapt it to what you need. So I'm ready for questions. Let me see if there's anything going on in chat. Anything else? No other questions? One more question. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely, Jacqueline. Yeah, people have clamored for that for a while. So I was very happy we were able to do that with the database. So check it out. Yeah, go to the course and try out the activity and download the preset. Each example has a topic in the course, okay? And kind of looks like this, there's a little blurb at the top about what to do. And then there's a try it out section. That's a database, go in and add entries, try it out. You'll be trying it out as a student, okay? So if you then want to try it out from the teacher point of view or from the creator point of view, download the preset and then go and try it out on your course. And then please engage afterwards, you know, go and put in more questions after you've tried it out, anything that comes to mind, ideas. Let's engage in some chatter about each of the examples. And I hope that you will be able to do that. There are badges to be won, so go and engage people. Other questions? Ooh, y'all on fire. Good, good. Catherine, Can you use a rubric in database? For grading purposes, no, you cannot use a rubric for the database. But guess what? We have created a rubric using the database. So you can use the database to grade databases as well. And of course, it's not in the same way, but you can use the database and create a rubric and make it private for you, the professor alone, and just kind of connect and link to students' entries and provide them feedback. Let me give you a little extra example there. So medical school, again, I was at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. And so I served that population for a while. I was there for like 5 years, and we did a lot of fun things with the medical school. They had to learn how to do patient histories, right? You know how you've watched some of these shows, right? They go around to the patient's room and someone has to present, this is Mr. So-and-so. He came in on so-and-so with presenting with a tummy ache. He is blah, blah, blahs, and he's got this symptom and that symptom. They learn how to do that. It doesn't just happen. So they actually go through a lot of oral presentation practice. And so they had to do this kind of a practice and be peer reviewed by their teammates and also the professor. And so we use the database to collect their reviews. They would upload their video of them presenting their history. And then the database had a form for, that was the rubric, and the students would review their peers' videos. And based on their feedback, they would either redo it or whatever. And so the teacher would take, again, we had JavaScript going on that was adding up the values of the feedback, because maybe if they gave excellent presentation, it was 100 points. If they gave good job or whatever, it was like 60. So those values were being added up to provide a grade, but it wasn't going into the grade book. It was something that was just kind of qualitative feedback, and the professor would use that information to give the students a final grade in the grade book. So lots of fun things you can do. Okay, let me see. Thank you, Ravi. Thanks, Megan. Support color, good. Exported data to CSV, created a template. Yeah, that's great, yeah. That's great, Sasha. Exporting as a zip, does it include the images? I answered that, right? I hope you saw that. If you're exporting as a zip, exporting as a zip is not entries. Exporting as a zip is the template, is the framework, is the structure of your database, okay? So when you're exporting as a zip, you are only preserving the structure of the database and giving it to someone else to use. So remember, it's being reused, so you can't share that data, private data with somebody else. When you export entries to CSV, that's when you are sending out the entries, the different rows of data, okay? So that's a difference there. I hope that explains the difference. Awesome. Yay. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and I finished before time. How about that? I thought I wouldn't finish in time, but yeah. So any other questions?
It was a lovely whirlwind tour of the database activity, Sarah. I
Thank
loved
you.
it. I'm just like, oh, as I said in the chat, I knew this was going to be one of my favorite ones, because it's one of those things that I don't think it certainly doesn't get used to its full ability. And I think that when you think of just the database activity, it can do a lot of stuff, but that's that next level of using the JavaScript. I think that's what really, where a lot of academics would struggle with that. But if we can make it viable for them and give them some tools and provide some support, I think that'd be great. Because I'm in a support style role and I'm looking at the certificate. So I'm really interested to see how this functions. So I'll be going through downloading all this stuff and having a bit of a play and then presenting it to my team as well.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Someone's asking a question, Cam, looking for a way to create one database, make it available to all the courses in a specific program or category. Well, may I suggest using LTI? You know that Moodle can publish activities as well as entire courses as an LTI. So you could turn on LTI in your site, turn on LTI in your course, and then publish that database as an LTI so that you have that one link, and provide that one link, across the different, programs. It's, you could make a pinned, I wonder if you can pin, I have to remember if we pin a block in a category or not. I think it's not category specific, but if it was possible, that would be the key, where you make an HTML block, make a link with the LTI that goes to it, and then pin it for that category. So everybody who has that block clicks on it and goes to this one activity. That's one way to think about it. We'll explore that a little more. That's an intriguing question, but I love puzzles, so I'm going to go figure it out, and maybe at my next moot, I'll be sharing that. Thank you. When describing the database activity to instructor, I call it structured data, which is less scary. Thanks, Jeff. Good point. Yep, structured data. I like to say custom forms. It's a little more accessible. Yep, you're welcome. Hey, Shal, thanks for the plug.
I am your
Awesome.
biggest fan. I'll always plug you.
Oh, thank you. Yep. So I really, really hope to see you all engaging in the course. Go download some goodies. I want to see who gets all my badges. I'll probably recommend you for some Moot coins for blowing up the badges in my course. And then there's, the PDF of the slides. The presentation is there. You can download that and take it away. And then there is the post-session feedback forms. Please do fill in the feedback in the course. And I guess this is recorded. It's going to be posted somewhere, so you can come back to this recording and go through it again if you want to. And go spread joy about databases.
Right. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was, I know I said I was just the Zoom room host, but I learned so much. Thank you. I'm inspired now to think about how to use the database in my classes. So thank you. And I can leave this open for a few minutes if people would like to chat. But we do have, let's see, is the next session at noon? I'm on again at 1, so I have to keep my schedule straight here. So, but hope everyone's collecting those moot bucks and get ready for the fun. The auction, right? Is that happening? Yeah, a lot of fun.
Is there any, so Catherine, is there any, first of all, hi, I'm Shalimar. I think we met last year. Are there any, like, I forget the name of the thing where we all sit around the tables. Is there any of that before 1 o'clock?
I don't know. Let me look. And I just was told to just host some Zoom rooms because I'm also doing the childcare. Everyone who doesn't know, I'm also Ryan Hazen's fiance, in addition to being a professor. So that's how I got roped into doing a lot of things. So I'm not sure. There's gotta be a schedule. There we go. Oh, I'm not sure. Virtual. Sorry, I'm not much help. Where'd they put the schedule? Do you know?
I'm looking too, and there is, I don't think there is no other meeting room before the 1 o'clock Mountain Time.
Yeah, it's time to go get lunch and all of that. So
If if you're needing some company, Shalimar, we can eat lunch together and just have an impromptu meeting. Is she still there?
Those of us based in Australia are going to go and have a sleep for an hour because it's 4 o'clock in the morning for me.
Fair enough, Australia. And yes, I do need company. Let me into one of those places.
So I know my brain's going to be buzzing with database, so I don't think I'll be able to get to sleep. Thanks for that one, Sarah.
The major problem with databases, it just
You're
keeps you up
welcome.
at night, right?
Dream up some great ideas, Robin.
Yeah, and then I know what'll happen because I do the same sort of stuff when I start doing all these fancy calculations in gradebook. Some of my team say, how are we going to support it? We don't understand what you've done. And I'll say, but it's so easy. And they're like, oh, we need to be able to support it. So it's like, oh, here we go. But I'm sure I'll find some academics that are keen in the maths department. They'll love this stuff. Because they've been
Awesome.
looking at things like using R exams to generate quiz questions and all these sorts of things. So looking at stack plugins for advanced mathematical things as well. So they keep pushing all those things to me and I love it. Coming from an engineering and IT background, it's great.
Awesome. Good. Okay, well, since it's lunchtime, for some of us, we're going to go find some lunch. See you all around the mood, people. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Or I'm
And
gonna-
congratulations, Catherine.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, we told Ryan. Yeah, congrats to you.
Yeah.
Fun. You know, Catherine, actually, can you stay on just like a little second after everybody leaves?
Sure.
Because I have a funny anecdote to tell you, but it's a little bit
What's the
private.
congratulations? Now she's the fiance or?
Yes.
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 Oh, okay. Did it happen at the moot?
Oh, no, there's no way. No way. In fact, I made a joke that it's why he asked me a month before the moot, because I've already said yes. But as you can imagine, it's a little stressful planning the conference. So
Oh, congrats.
but he's doing great. I can hear him next door in the office next door. And yeah. So thank you. Yeah, we're excited.
Oh, it's always good. Bye for now.
All right.
Okay, so I've been coming to the let me get on camera.
Okay. Oh, here. And actually, we're still recording. So I'm going to stop recording.
Good call.